morning, California, and welcome back to the KeSham Show. Today we're going to be discussing a very heavy topic to many. The KeSham Show will be discussing sexual harassment and gender discrimination. We're going to be focusing on these two topics around the workplace. Discussing this topic will allow workers to be more comfortable with opening up with the issue and talking about their experiences, as well as allowing coworkers to know and tell when someone is being discriminated against, so they can either talk to this coworker and see what they can help them with, or even report it to management or HR if the coworker doesn't feel comfortable enough to do so. Alright, KeSham, are you ready to get the show on the road?
Yes, KeSham, I'm ready. We have with us here a panel of researchers to have a discussion on harassment in the workplace. Joining us today will be Chandler Dunhook, Chloe Hinsman, Rosa Mesa, and Yesenia Serrano. Thank you, panel, for being here first and foremost. I'd like to start by asking you all some questions to get the discussion going. So to begin, what is harassment in the workplace?
Hi, KeSham. Thank you for having me, and thank you very much for asking that important question. You asked, what is harassment in the workplace? And how I define that is as all types of harassment and discrimination that can occur in all types of workplaces. So it can range from incivility to bullying to gender, racial, and or disability discrimination, and of course, sexual harassment. We claim that the American workforce has a huge issue with this because it is reported that 25 to 85% of all American women have experienced sexual harassment in the workplace in 2019 alone. And 63% of those women did not file a complaint, and 79% of men just kept the issue to themselves, according to the BBC. So we think that these stats really do help illustrate the severity of the issue within our society. And just being a woman alone while working, you have a 65% chance of experiencing harassment. So it is a big problem.
First, Yesenia, I would like to thank you so much for sharing these heavy numbers with me. I know it's probably very hard for you to talk about. These numbers are so shocking, and honestly, it worries me to hear all these stats and statistics that happen around the workplace, somewhere where someone should feel comfortable. I feel as though if you're going to the workplace, you shouldn't feel a heavy burden. I mean, going to work is bad enough. Also having to worry about discrimination?
Yes, Sham. That information does shock and does worry me as well. But it just goes to show that we need to reflect on our own experiences. We need to ask ourselves the tough questions. What type of environment does your workplace create for you? What types of behaviors are allowed or encouraged? Have you ever discriminated against or harassed anyone? Have you ever been harassed or discriminated against while working? Is every employee equally respected? Is your own identity and the identity of others equally respected? Is your workplace a welcoming environment for LGBTQ plus employees? These are the tough questions that need to be answered.
Absolutely. Gender and sex discrimination is a topic that needs to be addressed in all workplaces, in my opinion. We all deserve to work and be treated with equality.
You are totally correct, KeSham. Gender discrimination and sexual harassment does need to be addressed in all workplaces, because it is very alarming that 7 out of 10 LGBTQ plus employees were victims of harassment in the workplace, and 2/3 of those people did not report the abuse out of fear of losing their jobs. This is because the Trump administration has done all it can to reform laws that protect trans individuals.
This is all very shocking information. What I'm learning is that there are numerous ways someone can be discriminated against. It's not only gender discrimination. To be honest, I feel like in my workplace and in the workplaces that I've always worked at, I've always seen gender discrimination as the biggest issue. But from this panel, I'm learning that we can't exactly compare issues and which one's larger than the other. I feel as though we should have all of these issues addressed and looked upon. So thank you so much for addressing gender discrimination, but are there any other discrimination types that you would like to talk about?
Hi, I'm Rosa Mesa, and thank you so much for having me today. And well, yes, sadly, racial discrimination is still a huge problem in the workplace. So the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission defines racial discrimination as treating someone, whether they are an applicant or an employee, in an unfavorable way because they are of a certain race or because the person has certain characteristics that could be associated with their race. So that could be hair color, skin complexion, or even certain facial features. Color discrimination is defined as treating someone in an unfavorable way due to their skin color complexion. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. The law states that it is unlawful to harass a person due to their race or skin color, and this kind of harassment can include racial slurs, use of offensive symbols, derogatory remarks about a person's race or skin color. The law does not prohibit teasing or offhand comments, but if this behavior persists and it starts creating a hostile environment for a person, it does become illegal. And well, although it is illegal to discriminate against someone based on their race or skin color, it still persists. So the question is, how can you help? Well, speak up. If you witness or if you are the victim of racial discrimination, do not keep it to yourself in fear of potential consequences. Remember, you are the victim here. Silence only helps normalize racial discrimination. Report any racial discrimination, such as a microaggression, which could be telling a Latino coworker that they speak better Spanish than you think they would, or asking a Black coworker, "Where are you really from?" These microaggressions happen to be the root of racial discrimination.
Yes, thank you, Rosa. Another type of discrimination within the workplace that the viewers are curious about is disability discrimination, which I believe personally that a lot of people overlook. But can you give us some more information on disability discrimination and what goes into that and how people overlook it?
Hi KeSham and Sham, and thank you so much for having me on the KeSham show today. Hello everyone, and welcome to the segment where we're going to be talking about discrimination against those with a disability. An employer could also be practicing discrimination against those with a disability when they ask job applicants questions about their past or current medical conditions. It's also inappropriate to ask job applicants to take medical exams. Creating or maintaining a workplace that includes substantial physical barriers to the movement of people with physical disabilities is also discrimination. Lastly, refusing to provide a reasonable accommodation to employees with physical or mental disabilities in which would allow them to work better is also very discriminatory. Conditions like pregnancy, hearing impairments, and cancer shouldn't mean that someone is treated differently. If you're experiencing this type of discrimination, reach out for help as soon as possible. And if you don't have a disability, it's important to be an advocate for those with them. Thank you so much, KeSham and Sham, for having me on the KeSham show today. I hope this information was helpful and insightful to you all.
I absolutely agree, Chandler. I have people who are close to me that have disabilities, so this is very near and dear to my heart. I think oftentimes people overlook the challenges that people who have disabilities have to overcome, which is why I love everything you said. Regardless of a disability or a certain gender or sexuality, we all deserve to have equal and fair treatment and opportunity. But that's something I could talk about all day, so we're going to move on. Chloe, can we have some insight on how to deal with difficult situations and people?
Thank you, KeSham. Yes, I'd love to give some insight and share some helpful strategies for dealing with discrimination, incivility, and bullying. Although many may want to react in a way which affects their feelings, or some may simply feel at a loss of what to do, but I'm here to help share some helpful tips to navigate these hard situations. One approach you can take is to negotiate with the offender. This is a riskier approach when the person has power over you. For example, if it's your boss and he can demote you, but it also may go in your favor and have a strong outcome. For this approach, you have to be prepared for different outcomes and for the worst case scenario. Another strategy is to try appealing to the third party. This is a good tactic when speaking to the offender when it is not in your favor and you believe having another person there would help manage the conversation. The risk involved with this one is that the person could be upset if another person is present during the conversation. Backing off from the offender is another option that could be the best option if you are there to protect yourself against any unwanted harassment one may be receiving in the workplace. This approach entails communicating only via phone or email to limit face-to-face contact and staying away from company events. Another tactic to combat these hard situations is by reframing your thinking. When in the midst of a demeaning conversation, it can be easy to believe that the things said about you is true. It is important to not put yourself in a box and believe that you do not deserve to be treated like this in the workplace, and hurtful words and actions in the workplace is never acceptable and shouldn't be accepted.
I would like to thank our last panel member, Chloe, for that beautiful information that she shared. Today, our panel discussed different types of discrimination in the workplace. I really am curious about what you thought about this, California, so please tweet to us your thoughts, ideas, and also questions.